Well, hello and welcome. This is Misheard with Misheard Song Lyrics Podcast. We're in Season 3, Episode 152. We're going to do our second, Toto misheard song lyric. The misheard song lyric is, "Need you all the way." And then the correct lyrics is, "Meet you all the way." Pretty close. I actually also heard it in some cases too, "You're too far away." So lots of variations of this. So this misheard song lyric came about at a recent gathering that I had at my house, and I was playing some yacht rock, which people are like, what is yacht rock? Well, it's essentially soft rock from the 70s and 80s tunes. And this song, Rosanna from Toto, started playing. We all started dying because once it got to that part of "Meet you all the way," all of us had our interpretations of that line, and the most that most of us heard was the "Need you all the way" misheard song lyric. My favorite definitely was that, and it came from my friend Darlene, and she was, giving an example or a plea of why she thought that. She felt that that was the actual lyrics of the "Need you all the way" to make sure that, hey, I'm going to get into this relationship with you and either in or out all the way. And that's her interpretation, which makes sense both in her interpretation as well as what she heard, thinking that was the correct lyrics. For those of you who have been a loyal listener to this podcast, I think the last time I did a misheard song lyric with Toto was all the way back, in Season 1, Episode 35 on their song Africa. So let's begin. So Rosanna is a song written by David Paich, and he performed as Toto, American rock band, the opening track from the single for their 1982 album, Toto 4. Oh boy, so it's been, over 40 years now? This song won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year and 1983 ceremony, at the 1983 ceremony. It was also nominated for the Song of the Year Award, and it regarded drummer Jeff Porcaro's halftime shuffle, commonly known as the Rosanna Shuffle. We'll go into that in a bit because I had to kind of dig into what that actually meant. The song itself reached number 2 in the Billboard Hot 100 for 5 consecutive weeks, behind "Don't You Want Me" by the Human League and "Eye of the Tiger" by Survivor. It was also one of the band's most successful singles in the UK, peaking at number 12 on the UK singles chart and remaining on the chart for 8 weeks. So let's talk just a little bit about Toto. I know I've already done a Toto misheard song lyric, but from some new listeners, let's just go back a little bit. So Toto, and they say it stylized as all caps, T-O-T-O, is an American rock band. They formed back in LA in 1977. And the band's current lineup consists of a Steve Lukather, guitars and vocals, David Paich, keyboards and vocals, Joseph Williams, vocals, as well as some touring musicians by the name of John Pierce for bass, a Robert Sput Seawright for drums, Dominique Xavier Taplin for keyboards and vocals, Steve Magoria for keyboards and vocals, and a Warren Ham for horns and vocals. It's a big group. They are known for their musical style that combines a lot of elements. So there's pop, rock, soul, funk, progressive rock, or as some people affectionately call it, prog rock, hard rock, R&B, blues, and jazz. And when I talk a little bit more about that, what's known the half shuffle or the Rosanna shuffle, it's actually kind of it is a jazz technique. And they've released 14 studio albums and sold over 40 million records worldwide. And they have had several Grammy Awards, which I've already mentioned, and they were inducted to the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum in 2009. So the story was David Paich and Jeff Porcaro, I think is how you say it, have played together as session musicians on several albums for other well-known names. And they decided to form their own band. They included David Hungate, Steve Lukather, who's still with the band today, Steve Porcaro, and Bobby Kimball, and they were recruited before the release of their band's famous debut album in 1978. And then the singles started hitting big. So they were led by their top 5 single, "Hold the Line." I love that song. The album brought the band to mainstream attention, but it was their 4th album, Toto 4, in 1982, which brought them to this global attention with Africa, which we still hear today, topped the Billboard Hot 100, while Rosanna reached number 2, helping Toto become one of the best-selling music groups of their era. Now, how are they named? There's a lot of things like, they're named after the dog Toto from Wizard of Oz, and that's what people think it is. It's actually, I think, a popular myth. So what was happening is when, back in the day in the 80s, 70s, after the completion of their album, they actually had in the at least the stories I could see, where when they're doing demo tapes, they wanted to put a name, just a name there, so they know, hey, it's easy to find, also kind of unique to look at, but figure out whose demo tapes it is, and they put Toto there for a place marker. But then later on, David Hungate, after reviewing the name of the demo tapes, explained to the group that actually Latin words in Toto is translated to all-encompassing, and he thought that's a perfect name to name our band, because many of the band members played on so many different records and so many musical genres and so many different well-known names, so they adopted Toto as their own name. So that's the true name of it. After their release, Toto climbed the charts quickly, earning popularity with the hit single, like I said, Hold the Line, as well as the charting I'll Supply the Love and Georgie Porgy featuring Cheryl Lynn. I have to check that out. I don't remember Georgie Porgy. And then the band garnered international acclaim when they were nominated for a Grammy Award for Best New Artist. And then shortly thereafter, in early 1979, Toto embarked on their first American tour in support of their debut album. So big thing. So let's delve into the song itself, Rosanna. So the song was written by David Paich, who had said that the song is based on numerous girls he had known. Now, as a joke, people had thought that the band members, you know, the song was named after a famous Arquette, Rosanna Arquette. You know that name? Well, she's from the Arquette family of actors and actresses. The band members initially played along with the common assumption that it was based on Rosanna Arquette because she was dating at that time Toto keyboarder player Steve Porcaro, and coincidentally had the same name because it's a very unique name. It's not Rosanna, it's Rosanna. Arquette herself played along with the joke, commenting in an interview that the song was about, quote unquote, my showing up at 4 a.m. bringing them juice and beer at their session. So she played along with the joke. And so that's what I guess the joke was, but really the true story behind the name Rosanna was just based on David Paich writing it about numerous girls he had known. Let's see here. An interesting thing about the song, they had to change the key, so for some of you music nerds, to a G major to F major because of the original recording by the lead vocalist. It originally was Steve Lukather, and it changed to Bobby Kimball. And if you see Bobby Kimball, he's actually in the well-known Rosanna video, so they had to change the key to change the different lead singers. What I want to talk about is a drum pattern. So I talked about it earlier. It's called a halftime shuffle, and it's the beginning of the song. Dun, dun, dun. It's specifically for this song. They say it's a definite jazz influence, and it's derived from two things. So famous drummer for them, one of their Porcaro brothers, Jeff, and if you go online, you can find actually his example of what the difference is, how he created it. So he actually took two different drum patterns from famous songs, I'm going to share it with them in a second, and then made this famous halftime shuffle for Rosanna. So he took a combination of the Purdy Shuffle from Led Zeppelin drummer John Bonham's shuffle on Fool in the Rain, and then he took the Bo Diddley beat for the, I guess, you know, hitting the foot drum part. And so when he put the two together, he gets the now famous Rosanna Shuffle. So the Purdy Shuffle can be prominently heard in Steely Dan's track Home at Last from the album Aja. And like Jeff Porcaro says in many videos you'll see online, that it was one of the major influences, along with the Bo Diddley beat and John Bonham's shuffle on Fool in the Rain. And it says here Steve Porcaro, so there's brothers in this band, and Lukather described this song, Rosanna, as it's the ultimate Toto track. And it has a lot of, like Cashbox had been quoted saying, varied palette of pleasing pop shades. And then, despite not playing on the actual recording, new bassist Mike Porcaro, so brother of Jeff and Steve, so there's three brothers in this, appears in the video as original Toto bass player David Hungate left before the video is made. So good to know. So have you seen the music video? It's a good one from the 80s. It has a very West Side Story look, even down to the Sharks and the Jets or whatever dressed up gangs, along with the main dancer in her red dress, just like West Side Story. It was created by a director by the name of Steve Barron. He did many music videos at the time, and it was in an urban, it seems like, I'm assuming New York landscape. And Rosanna is represented by this beautiful dancer in a bright red dress, along with everything else looking gray, black and white. So the band, Toto itself, is playing behind a chain link fence enclosure. I don't know why, but that's what they did. And then the beautiful dancer blonde is none other than actress Cynthia Rhodes. Why does that name ring a bell? Well, let me tell you. She was featured as a lead dancer for this music video, which led her to get casted in Staying Alive, and we'll go into that in a second. But the interesting thing is, if you look in the video, it's only a couple seconds, one of the male dancers in one of the gangs, quote unquote, was played by an uncredited dancer in the video. No joke, Patrick Swayze. And later on, ironically, he and Rhodes will both star in the movie Dirty Dancing later on. So let's just talk about Cynthia Rhodes first. Beautiful gal, born November 21st, 1956. She is a retired American actor, singer, and dancer. I knew about her dancing and being actress, but I didn't know about the singing. We'll go into that too. Her film roles include Tina Tech in Flashdance, 1983. I think that was her friend that was just, I think that was the role where her friend was doing the ice skating bit in front of her parents and kept falling. It was just sad. And then she played Jackie in Staying Alive, 1983. Officer Karen Thompson in Runaway in 1984, and then Penny in Dirty Dancing in 1987, so years later. So she was born in Nashville, Tennessee. She began her show business career working at Opryland, USA. I finally went a couple years ago with my husband. It's big. As a singer and dancer while attending a Glencliff High School during the 70s. She was raised in a Baptist family, and she has always been trying to maintain a clean-cut image. And specifically for acting roles in media, she turned down a lot of scripts that would require nudity, and also refused many offers to pose for pictorials in Playboy magazine. She was just like, I just can't. Even actor and director of Staying Alive said that Rhodes would sooner quit the business before doing anything to embarrass her parents. That was her strict Baptist upbringing. She also played a role, another did you know, in the fantasy musical Xanadu. I love that movie, from 1980. And then in 1982, she appeared in a video production called The Tubes Video, directed by Russell Mulcahy and choreographed by Kenny Ortega, a famous choreographer. I've heard his name before. The 52-minute long-form music video featured Rhodes as one of 3 backup dancers for the San Francisco-based band, The Tubes, and included such hits as Talk to You Later, Sushi Girl, Sports Fans, and Mondo Bondage. Her next role was Tina Tech in the musical Flashdance. And then after Flashdance, Rhodes was cast opposite John Travolta in Sylvester Stallone's 1983 film called Staying Alive. It was actually a sequel to the 1977 hit film Saturday Night Fever, in which Rhodes' character Jackie was an ensemble dancer, bar band, singer, and sometimes love interest of Travolta's character in the movie Staying Alive. It didn't do so well. It was poorly reviewed, and the film, unfortunately, was actually commercially successful. Just was panned by the critics. I actually went to see it in 1983 in my hometown too with my aunt and cousin, and it was all right. And there was also a funny cameo of Sylvester Stallone in the movie itself. And then she actually did her first non-dance related role in Michael Crichton's 1984 sci-fi thriller Runaway, which featured Tom Selleck, Kirstie Alley, and Gene Simmons. I need to check that out. That sounds amazing. But her most notable role, which is ironically that she was in this video with a Patrick Swayze, was when she played dance instructor Penny Johnson in the hit 1987 movie Dirty Dancing with Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze. Remember, that's the role where she had to get an abortion and she got pregnant. Ugh. Anyway, that's her. And she actually was also in another role around that time. It was her first motion picture role. She was the character of Vicki Phillips. She played opposite an actor by the name of Jameson Parker. For those of you youngins, he starred in the TV show Simon and Simon. It was what they call a sleeper action adventure movie called Curse of the Crystal Eye. She was in that. And then she was in a bevy of music videos. She was the go-to gal. So not only being a dancer in Rosanna by the song we're talking about today with Toto, she was also in the video by the Bee Gees, The Woman in You, and Richard Marx. I love me a Richard Marx from the late 80s, 90s, Don't Mean Nothing. Remember that song? Don't Mean Nothing? Well, remember that because it's going to come back. I did share that she was already part of that one video, that 52-minute video with the Tubes, and she actually toured in the 1980s. What I didn't know was her connection to An Emotion. Remember that band back then. They sang Obsession, You're My Obsession. That's Animotion. She actually replaced lead singer Astrid Plain for the recording of Animotion's third album and original material. They said, though the group's single Room to Move from the film My Stepmother is an Alien rose to number 9 in the Billboard charts, the album failed to match the group's earlier success, peaking only at number 110 on the pop charts. And then shortly after, the group disbanded. So I didn't even know that this gal was also now the new lead singer of Animotion. And then in 2002, Rhodes co-wrote the smooth jazz track A Perfect Day with their then husband, you guessed it, Richard Marx. So when she did that video to Richard Marx, I think they were already, starting to get to know each other. She did marry him. And they actually met in 1983 when Marx was working on the motion picture, there it is, here's the connection, soundtrack for Staying Alive. Rhodes, who is actually 7 years older than Richard Marx, thought Marx was way too young for it to date at the time, so they didn't date. And then they did not start their relationship until 2 years later when they were reacquainted, supposedly at a party. And after 4 years of courtship, the couple finally married on January 8th, 1989. And after marrying, they actually have 3 boys, and she retired from performing ever again to raise her family. And the ironic thing is, years ago for work, I was actually in Huntington Beach at a swanky hotel there, and there was a trio performing, and it was the 3 boys. So Richard Marx's kid and her. So they're still in the music business. Not as big as, hitting it big as Dad, but still trying to. And then sadly in April of 2014, April 4th, a U.S. Weekly article did confirm that she and Richard Marx were divorcing after 25 years of marriage. So there you go. So lots of twist and turn with this Toto. I knew about, before why they were called Toto. Did not realize that there was all this connection with the actual dancer. And then Patrick Swayze, what? In the video, before he was well known and everyone now knows him now. And then the cool thing about learning about this halftime shuffle, or what they call the now infamous, I guess, Rosanna shuffle. And then thanks to my friend Darlene for making us laugh of thinking it was called Need You All the Way instead of Meet You All the Way. There you go, Darlene. If you have any great suggestions like this, just send it to any of our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can just direct message me, or you can just send it to old-fashioned misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs @gmail.com, and we might do a shout out. So till then, keep singing those songs wrong. Bye.